Okay, welcome to Agent Tactics. Ed Stulak got canceled. It was only a matter of time before Ed Stulak got canceled. Luckily for us, the uncancelable Kristina Smallhorn is joining us to talk YouTube hacks. I am so excited about this. Kristina is the person that really helped me get my YouTube channel going. I was struggling. I was doing everything the wrong way. After a few calls with Kristina, it really set me in the right direction, and my whole channel took a whole different approach. So we're going to talk about a couple of those things that worked for me. I want to talk about content that agents should be creating right now. A couple good questions before we got on here was how to qualify leads, and then what calls to action should we be using. So we'll go over those, and then I want to know how to grow a YouTube channel. So without further ado, Kristina Smallhorn, one of my favorite people, thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you let me come on.
Yeah,
I
I,
like to
I
be a
need
part of the cool crowd.
I need music like bum, 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 bum. All right. So legitimately, Kristina, you have for real estate agents, right? We'll clarify that. For a real estate agent, you have a huge channel, right? Most real estate agents barely get, I think most I see is Brad or Ken Posick. What, they're like 35, 40,000 subscribers. You're at what? A million?
I think 280,
200
280,000.
280,000 subscribers. You get business from the channel, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
you get paid from the channel as well. So that's what's
Correct.
really exciting. And you do a lot of content that not most people would do. So
They wouldn't touch it.
wouldn't touch it.
They wouldn't
And
touch it.
that's, you've niched out a little bit, which is great. So walk us through, if I'm a new agent and I want to get started in YouTube and I want to start getting business out of it, what do you think the first few steps agents should be doing?
It doesn't matter what uh position you are as a real estate agent. The one thing you need to understand immediately when you're starting to make content is who you're making content for. Who is your ideal client and avatar that you're making content for? Because if you identify that, that's the only person you're talking to in your videos. Because what happens is, and most agents do this, I did this, we get a lot of advice. And first it's like, oh, go be the digital mayor and start going to restaurants and stuff like that. That isn't going to bring you business. I did that. Then you're making stuff for sellers, you're making stuff for homeowners, you're making stuff for buyers, you're making loan stuff. Again, that you're all over the place. That's too far and wide. You're not identifying who you're actually making content for. So once you learn how to speak to only that specific buyer or seller, and you identify their pain points and you make content for them, then that's when the riches are in the niches. So that's what happens. That's what you should do, is just identify who that person is that you really want to make content for and make it for them.
Okay, so I am an agent in Austin, Texas. I
Mm-hmm.
want to create content for my specific niche, which is relocation buyers and move up sellers, right? Those are the two people that I work with the
That's
most.
two different people.
Two different people, right? So where should I start as far as content wise, or where are most agents? All right, they've identified their niche. How do they start creating content for that person?
So what I do is I start researching YouTube and I start looking at top performing videos in the relocation niche and see what other channels are doing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be other real estate agents. People pigeonhole themselves by looking at content that's only from real estate agents. They're like, well, that real estate agent got, 35,000 views. That's what I'm going to do. But if you branch out and look at some of the biggest channels that are talking about relocation, then you can emulate those videos for your own channel. So that way, you identify their patterns in their thumbnails, you identify their patterns in their hook, their titles, and then you make that for your channel. You're going to grab more people's attention, including YouTube's, because they already know that was a successful video, and they're going to put that out to more people that are in that relocation niche.
Okay, so I'm gonna go look for videos that are performing well. I'm gonna emulate, not steal, but
Not
emulate.
steal, not steal,
So
not
I'm
steal.
ready, not steal. So I'm ready to shoot my first video. how do I make it not complicated for myself, right? Because that's what we do as agents. We overcomplicate everybody. It's just people. We overcomplicate things.
I
How do I
think
make it? Yeah.
you make a pattern, right? So you know what you're like, you take that video camera out and you say, okay, the first 15 seconds I have to grab their attention. What could I say to grab their attention in that first 15 seconds that will keep them watching for the next 15 to 5 minutes or however long? Once you do that, that's when I throw in a little like call to action to get them motivated in the channel. I'll ask them a question. So it's like, I just ask them something that will engage them in a way that they will make some kind of comment in the comment section. Like, do you think that this is the best place to live in Austin? Let me know in the comment section. So the first place that we're looking at. So then I get into the actual content itself, and I usually make 5 points about what it is I'm discussing in the, from the title. So, 5 ways to move to Austin. So I take those 5 points and I rattle them all off, and then it's time to close. So usually I add something really interesting before I'm closing out the video. So that way they, again, don't drop off the video before it ends. The last thing I do is tell them who I am and how they can get a hold of me, and then go watch another video.
Amazing. That was one of Tammy's questions, which we'll get to in a minute, is how do you to do call to actions. One of the things I like to do in my videos too is when you and I talked about this a long time ago, is story arc, right?
Mhm.
So if the hook is what you're going to be talking about, save that piece, whatever the most important thing of your hook is, for the last quarter of the video, right? So that's what keeps keeping people along. Some of the things that I'll do in my videos, that obviously you want to keep driving conversations in the video, so asking questions throughout, but is keeping that like, oh, by the way, we are getting to the last thing on this list, and it is a big one, so stay tuned for that. Because then you that way keep people, that's the way I keep people engaged, and usually we get about 50% watch time.
Mhm. Well, what I do sometimes, just to kind of deliver on the promise, I put the most interesting thing first so they continue watching. Or,
Okay.
like, instead of making them wait all the way to the end, you put it smack dab in the middle, because
Okay,
they were
good.
like, oh, that was super interesting. So they'll continue to watch. You can play with that a little bit. I would invite people to play with that, because sometimes when you say, oh, well, we'll get to that at the very end, sometimes they'll just fast forward to the very end because that's what they really wanted to know.
Right. When people are doing these videos and they're trying to look to see what is working, what's the best way for them to look at their videos to see what is and what isn't working?
So, some of the simplest analytics you can look at is the audience retention, and everybody should be paying attention to that. So, a lot of times when you look at the audience retention graph, it will, you pull up the video, it will have a little graph, and if it goes like immediate, what we call it, a hockey stick, where it goes like this and it goes like that, and then it like kind of peters out, your audience retention was pretty bad. So, you want to aim at the beginning to get like at least 50%, at least 50%. And then, over time, you can see how you can improve that, because you'll look at that audience retention graph and you'll see little like spikes in your audience retention. And you're like, that means that somebody rewound it or paused it to see what it is that you said in that video. So go back and look. Did you put like some kind of music in there? Did you add some kind of element? Was it it was an article that came up on the screen? Something grabbed their attention and made them pause that video. Do those kinds of things in the next video, more of them, and see if that you'll have even more spikes, because obviously it's resonating with an audience. So you continue to do those things.
Okay. So as far as keeping people engaged, right? So to keep
Mhm.
them rewinding, what are some tips you would say are the best tips to keep them rewinding or keep them on, keep the audience retention? Obviously, we talked about making the most important thing at the end, but what are some things in the video that we can do? And maybe things that maybe aren't complicated, right? Because we all think we need amazing editing, which editing helps, but what are
But
some of the things? Yeah.
even sound design can help like them to come back, right? So you could say a price, that's going to cost $3,000, right? And then you'd make that like cash register sound. It will sometimes they'll be like, what did he say there? And they'll rewind it. That works. The other thing too is that we are in the real estate business, and we know the terms and verbiage and definitions of things that we don't even think about. but the normal consumer doesn't use these words and doesn't understand those definitions. So if you say something that you think maybe somebody wouldn't know about, put the definition at the bottom. You don't even have to address it. Just write the definition of it. That will definitely get their attention, and they will go back. And you, again, a sound design type thing where it's like, bling, with a little arrow. You remember like VH1's pop-up videos where they give you like random facts about
Yeah.
the artist? You could do that with like definitions of certain things that, like escalation clause, right? And you could write the definition on it, but you're still talking about escalation clauses, but you're giving them the information on the screen of what that actually means. What's the full definition of it?
Amazing. Okay. I like that. Those are some really good, easy tips. What, as far as like, okay, everybody gets so stressed out about editing videos. What are your tips for editing videos? Should everybody just try to tough it out, or how should they find somebody to help them?
I know that real estate agents don't have time. Like I truly enjoy doing video editing, but I don't have the time to do it like I used to. So what I do now, and I think everybody should at least learn some basics about editing, so you know how to talk to an editor that you're going to hire. And that way you can tell them exactly, like make sure you put a lower third here. You're giving them the verbiage to know exactly what to do. The other thing is that I think that if you find a creator that makes videos the way you want your videos to look like, that's what you give to your editor. Say, hey, I like this creator's stuff, and I like the way that this looks. Can you emulate this on my video in this section? So you give them examples, because they don't know what to do unless you show them. So give them as many examples as possible. For God's sakes, don't just throw them a bunch of clips and say, make it look pretty, because you're not even helping them and you're not helping your audience. You're just making something look pretty. It's the very similar to thumbnails. You can't just make a thumbnail and say, well, that looks pretty, but no one's going to click on it if you don't know what you're doing. So you should really just take the time just to understand what makes a good hook, what elements really work, and how to talk to an editor.
I think that's really important, because when we understand editing too, it makes the process of shooting the content easier as well. Because sometimes
Absolutely.
we'll shoot content and then you get the video back and you're like, well, this sucks. Well, if you
Mm,
didn't shoot it for the whole video in mind and how they're going to edit and what edits to make, then the video is just going to suck anyway. And
exactly.
the reality is, look, don't stress over your first few videos sucking or not. Just put them out, right?
My first videos, literally, I look like I'm in a hostage situation. It was very difficult. I never spoke in front of a camera like that before, and spitting out random information, trying to memorize it and put it on the screen, random statistics and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's like you can't know how to do that right away. And just the fact of even looking at the camera lens. Do you know how people it takes people forever because they're looking over at the screen over here, because they're looking at themselves in the screen instead of doing
Yeah.
that. You got to look at the lens. All these things take time and practice, and not a soul is perfect the first time. I mean, I not a soul. So, I've been doing this now for 7 years, and my first videos and thumbnails and titles are tragic. But, the thing is the only reason I stuck with it is because it brought me business from the very beginning. And it's one of those things that you will get better, your content will get better, and and it will bring you business always. Even no
Yes.
matter how crappy your thumbnails and titles and videos are. I mean, mine are terrible. They're terrible, and it still brought me business.
What's funny is, what you're saying there is I have a client right now, and I call them. I'm like, hey, I think we need a price reduce, and I think this is what we need to do. Obviously, the Austin market's definitely different. And she goes, I was on the phone yesterday with my friend in Cedar Park who actually watches your YouTube channel and watches some of the videos that
Mhm.
because her husband watches me, but she doesn't, right? So when her husband's telling me things or telling her things about me, she's like, whatever. But her friend that was a female in Cedar Park was talking to her. She's like, yeah, he's saying we need a price reduce. I don't know. And she's like, you need to listen to Jeremy. What he says is like what people need to hear. And she's like, so then she's like, yeah, so I agree. We need a price reduce. Can you imagine like going through trying to negotiate with clients and helping clients, and then them just not wanting to work with you at all, but watching video content, even that was years ago, where they
Mhm.
actually want to trust you and understand that, hey, I am trying to help them. So nice little validation for all the hard work we put in. Okay, so
Oh, I wanted to say one quick
go ahead.
thing, because I know that some people are like, oh, Jeremy's been doing it for 4 years. Christina's been doing it for 7 years. Like, oh, I've missed the boat. It's too late.
Mm,
That couldn't be further from the truth at all. Matter of fact, there's more and more people jumping on YouTube today than in any other time. For the first time, like about 8 months ago, the number one streaming service in the world became YouTube. It used to be Netflix. Netflix was on the top of that hill for the longest time, and then it became YouTube. People are turning off their televisions, and they are trusting and believing the regular person more than the person that's paid $1 million to sit on television. They much rather hear from you than they would from, Ted Koppel or whatever. They don't want to hear from those big names anymore. They don't trust them. They trust you. So this is a really big opportunity, and you will get success from it. You can still do it. It isn't oversaturated. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to throw up. Anybody can pick up a camera today and make it happen for them and get business from it. It's the best way, the cheapest way. The cost is your time. The cost is your time.
yeah, it's good that you mentioned that too. And look, you don't have to have, what am I at, 16, 17,000 subscribers. You don't need that many subscribers to get a lot of business. I mean, you sent me a video yesterday or the other day that a guy in Austin did. And I know that guy's been doing video as long as I have, right? And yeah,
Mhm.
my channel's outproduced him. And I've talked to him. His name's Charles, a really nice guy. He's made some horrendous videos in the past. I mean, couldn't get his lighting right, couldn't do any, like his videos just looked terrible. He finally puts out a video that was 7 minutes long, and it was just a well-made video. He finally made a very well, I mean, maybe he's made some other good ones, I don't know, but I haven't paid attention. And that video is at 800,000 views, and it's crushing. And he went from like 2,000 subscribers to 7,000 subscribers overnight because he did the little things. So he was
Yeah.
getting business the whole time.
Yep.
But it'll take just one video that all the stars align, and all of a sudden you're doing. I mean, Paul Likens, is that Paul, or who's the guy in Florida that, like,
Yeah.
all of a
Paul
sudden,
Likens.
oh yeah, like he made a couple really good videos where he was just walking around with his camera talking about the condo situation, the HOA situation,
Mhm.
insurance, all this stuff in Florida. And he went from a couple thousand subscribers. I don't even know where he's at, but he is like, what, 15, 16, 17,000 subscribers, I'd imagine now.
Yeah.
And it just takes time, and you're not going to get it right the first time. So don't stress about it. Just get video. Like, the worst thing is to overanalyze and not put video out.
Yeah. Analysis paralysis. And that happens
Yes.
a lot. I have students that have taken my course now, like I think 5 times in a row, and still have yet to have produced a video because they're overthinking it. They're overcomplicating it. Oh, I just want to get this right. I'm like, you just need to freaking turn on the camera and film something. At this point, you're just talking yourself out of it. Well, what about this? What about that? Stop it. I can't even give you an analysis until you do something.
Yeah, it's funny, is Will Draper and I are working on a project, and Will was like, I just want all these people to use this. And I was like, Will, the reality is, even Kristina, who's got a great course, there's people who don't put out a single video. Stop stressing about the people that don't put out content, and just work
Mhm.
and focus on who is willing to do the work and to get there. So kind of funny. Okay, so let's talk titles and thumbnails, right? I shoot you messages probably once a month about, this video sucks. And you're like, why do you think it sucks, Jeremy? And I'm like, I know what you're going to say, Kristina. The title and the thumbnail suck. So that's why I'm texting you. So as agents, what can we be doing to make catchy thumbnails and catchy titles?
First, don't depend on AI to create your, SEO rich title. First, that is like as soon as I see one of those videos in my feed, I'm like, AI created that. And YouTube knows that AI created it. And you're not understanding what your niche is, and you're not identifying your audience. Do not have AI create your titles. They need to be less than 65 characters. They need to be super engaging, and the image on your thumbnail needs to tell the story of the title with as very few words as possible. So people should be looking at that image and know what the title is before they even look at the title. The image should invite them in to make them so curious to make sure that that's what the title is going to be like, and then they click on it.
See, I struggle with that because I'm literally like coming up with the video idea as I go out to shoot sometimes. So somebody needs to get
And
better.
I like, the thing is that before I even shoot the video, and this is no joke, I literally do the title and the thumbnail before I shoot the video. And it's an exercise in my brain because I'm working on it, I'm massaging that title, I'm making sure it's like really good. But by the time I'm picking up the camera, I already have that title like ingrained in my brain. So I'm naturally saying the words of that title as I'm talking. I'm not even thinking about it. It's already there because my brain is trained. I've already made the thumbnail. It's ready to go.
Amazing. Okay. So, all right. So those are some amazing tips. We had a question earlier, and if you all have questions for Kristina, drop those in right now, and we're going to get to them.
Drop it like it's hot.
Drop it like it's hot. What content's popping right now? Like what content would definitely get me views that I would like if I'm like, all right, I just want
Well, that
to
will
shoot for
depend
a
on your
video with
niche.
you. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
going to depend on your niche. Like, you know, like the thing is, I'll give you a perfect example why some agents miss the boat. So Paul Likens made a video about condos, and they were like, oh, that's what's going right now, right? So they immediately, every real estate agent under the sun started making condo videos. And, you know, some of them did okay, some of them did terrible, some of them did really well, but it was because it wasn't in line with what their audience wanted. They missed the mark because it had nothing to do with with what they already were making content on. They were just hoping to get a viral hit that way. You know, you have to understand what your niche is and who you're making content for to have viral hits. I have videos on my channel that have to do with tiny homes and manufactured homes. They have millions and millions of views. If Jeremy was to do one of those videos, copy it word for word, even the title and the thumbnail, and put it on his channel, it would do dog poop because it has nothing to do with the type of audience that watches his content. It wouldn't make any sense.
Yep. See, that's the question I always get. It's like, oh, what video should I be making right now? And I go back to who's your videos for? Well, okay.
Right, because
Couple.
people want to be told what to do. And that and there are courses out there that says, well, you can make XYZ. These are your these are the ones that are going to start for you. The problem with that is, yes, it will get you started. There's no problem with that. You're going to run out of content ideas very quickly if you keep trying to hit that, you know, those same titles over and over again. Not only that, everybody in your market is making those same exact videos. So if your video did well a year ago, the new guy in the neighborhood is making those same videos. Your video is just going to go down lower and lower and lower. So you have to come up with your own ideas for your own audience that relate to your niche and your avatar to continue to have success. Anybody can have a viral hit, but can they do it again? Do they know why they had a viral hit? Most likely they don't. A good portion of people do not. They're like, thank God, finally, spaghetti against the wall finally worked and it's stuck. Now, can they replicate that again? A lot of them can't.
Interesting. Okay. So, I'll say calls to action, right? So I always have people like, and that was one of Tammy's questions when we got in here. What calls to action should you be saying in the video? And then what should you be putting in the description section?
Calls to action should not be a disruption in the video itself. It should be almost like a natural conversation. Like, you had this zombie video recently about the zombie houses. I loved that video, by the way.
Thank you.
And, you know, like in the middle of the video, like, you know, you would say something like, you know, not all the home builders in this area are having a problem with, you know, these empty subdivisions. I'm actually connected with thousands of or hundreds of builders in the area that are doing fantastic work, for, affordable prices. If you want to get a hold of me, just go ahead and click that link in the pinned comment below, and we can have a conversation so I can connect you with my exclusive list of home builders. And then you get right back into what you were talking about with the zombie houses.
Yeah.
You make it a natural conversation where it doesn't feel forced, and you're not selling anything. You're not selling yourself. You're not talking about yourself. You're offering them a service where they want to speak to you.
I like that pinned comment. I like that.
So and Tammy asked like, when you look into the description, she was saying, like, everybody has all these ways to get a hold of me, phone numbers, blah, blah, blah. And I talk about this all the time. You should have a very simple landing page that only requires them to do one thing. Get all of those other links out of your YouTube channel, all of them, because if they're going to leave YouTube and leave your content, you want them to do one thing, which is get a hold of you, and you want their information. So that landing page should have just their name, their last name, their phone number, their email address, whether they want to buy or sell. Simplify it. Simplify it. So that way you can just call them and speak to them, and then you can put them on a drip mail campaign. The fact that you called them a lot of times when they've seen you on videos and you've personally called them once they filled out that form, they feel like they're talking to a celebrity. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous and insane, but it's 100% the truth. I'm really guilty of not getting back to people very quickly after gotten that form filled out. And I've called people back 2 weeks later. Sorry, I've been so busy. I really wanted to get a hold of you. I meant to call you sooner. Are you still looking for a real estate agent in Austin? Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm so glad. I know you're super busy. I was just waiting. I'm so glad you had the time to call me. Can you imagine, like, before I started doing this, I could never even imagine having phone calls like that with people if I was that late calling them. They were gone by then.
Yeah.
Zillow leads don't work like that. If you don't call them in 2.5 seconds, you're gone, Yeah.
Yeah. So I have it set up literally. It's like contact me through the website. So people come in the website. As soon as they come into my website, then they get hit with all of the, like, we have Anna, which is our AI bot that we have through Lofty, which is our CRM. And it starts having a conversation with them. And a lot of times they'll be like, oh yeah, I follow you on YouTube. We have a phone number on there as well. That's just a YouTube phone number. So when it dials, it'll say this call is from YouTube. So it's called Call Rail. So those two ways that we have. Another way, I mean, you could do a Calendly link. I think that is okay. It's not a bad way to do it, but I would have something set up like where if you have a Calendly link, okay, so they
It gives
book
the customer too much control.
right.
Honestly, like, because so many things can happen. Like, you get a listing appointment or whatever, and you have those Calendly set up. I think it gives the customer too much control. You want to control the situation. So I would just make it a form that you fill out, and you can return the call in your time. And
that's where, so and I think the person Tammy was talking about does this is Dan Parker. So what happens is it'll book the appointment, but in order for it to confirm the appointment, you have to answer all these questions.
It's too
much. It's too much. It can't.
It's too much.
So usually when people come through, I have a questionnaire. It's like 8 questions, right? And one of the questions is, are you talking with other agents? And I'll have people like that'll say yes, and then I'll follow up like, hey, which agents are you talking to? If they start saying I'm talking to all the other YouTube agents that are in Austin, I just say, hey, work with the other YouTube agents. I don't want to work with you. I literally had I've had 2 people do that. I'm like, I don't, and they're like, why don't you want to work? I want to work with you. I'm like, no, if you've already reached out to the other YouTube agents, you can work with them. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't. Can you do the screen share real quick? I want to show everybody what I did. It should be good to go. Okay. Because it was saying it was disabled by the host. Okay. So I used to have a super elaborate site with WordPress and blogs, and where I post my videos and everything else. And I went to a social media conference, and I was talking to this guy who does really big conversions, and he said, simplify it, like, get rid of this website. So the only thing you can do on my website is book a call with me. That's it. That is the only thing. There's nothing to this. And it, like, either looking for a referral or a collaboration. And that's it. Done. And then it says this contact number. Are you looking to buy or sell? Your address. Are you pre-approved?
This is it. This is all they do. And once they submit this, then I get an email instantaneously. And then I call them. I mean, I wanted to make it as easy as possible. The minute I did this, I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Because I had it on the website set up on a Monday. On Sunday on my live stream, I was like, look, if you're looking for a real estate agent in your area, I'm connected with thousands across the country. Go ahead and go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, fill out the form, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I was like, instantly 5 freaking forms came in. And I was like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner? This was the smartest thing I could have ever done.
What do you think? How many referrals do you think you actually give out on a monthly basis? Or maybe that's too broad of a time frame.
It
But
depends on the market, honestly, because like during the pandemic, it was so stupid. Like honestly, I mean, it was just dumb. Like the amount of people. I wanted to stop screen share because I know that people don't want to look at this. Oh, here it is. I was getting stupid amounts, but right now, I probably each live stream on Sunday, I get about 5 to 6. And then throughout the week, I'm getting like 1 or 2 a day. Sometimes people just want to like talk,
yeah,
a lot of times, and which is fine. I'll talk to them. But my focus right now, I don't even do that call to action because my focus isn't doing referrals at the moment. I just really like working on helping real estate agents with their YouTube channels. That's my new
well,
thing.
so the thing I run into, and this is what Tammy's question was too, is when those people come through, how do you qualify and make sure they're not just crazy people? That's
I
that's
don't even care.
that's
I don't care. I just talk to them. And within a few minutes, if they're crazy and they're like, just wanting to have a chit chat with them, I like, how to, we're salespeople. We know how to tighten this up and be like, oh, okay, well, look, I'm glad you enjoyed the content. I'm really busy right now. I'm going to have to let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Boom, call it a day. Right.
yeah,
But if they're genuinely interested in buying properties, then, you take your time with them. There
yeah.
crazies everywhere. You're not going to avoid it. There's no way of getting around it. The more you talk to people, the more you're going to be open to running into more crazy.
Yeah, I run into it a lot. I mean, I would get people. I mean, I remember one time this guy calling me just out of the blue, like, "Okay, I want to buy uh, duplexes under 400K, and I want all this stuff. I want brand new." I'm like, "That doesn't exist, bro." And he's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, well, I live in New
Yeah.
Jersey. Of course, it's absolutely. I can find it on Zillow." I'm like, "Oh, listen, man, I'm not the guy for you." Like,
Yeah.
so that's yeah, but
And if you deal with some people that on the phone and they're not working, just refer it out to somebody else in your office.
yeah.
Like there's sometimes that I'm like, oh my God, this person's gonna be a pain in my butt. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I think that Darla would be a fantastic agent for you. Like she knows that side of real estate way better than I do. Talk yourself down, talk that person up, and refer it out, and so you don't have to deal with the headache. I mean, I would rather get some check than no check.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's
Refer out crazy.
definitely, I would say, especially during the pandemic, I was referring out 3 or 4 a week. I refer
Absolutely.
out, I refer a few out now, and it's more of just like location wise, because I don't have time to be running all over town. So a lot of times there's people
Mhm.
like that. I refer off a lot of more of the investor clients. I just don't have the time because sometimes they ask more questions than I have time for, which is fine. That's
Right.
like they're not a bad client. They just require a little more hand holding. And I'm with you. I have a lot of agents with stuff and doing this, and I don't have the time.
I don't
Uh,
want to do it.
yeah,
That's the other thing. I just don't want to. And that's when you get that busy, when you're getting these kinds of leads in, know your limitations and don't be afraid to say no. I
yeah,
mean, I don't work with investors. I used to back in '08 because those are the only people that were buying at that time. I hate it. Like honestly, they're exhausting. They suck the soul out of you. So
yeah,
I will gladly refer investors out. And I did during the pandemic, and that person bought so much property in Missouri, and I just kept getting these commission checks in the mailbox money because of one referral, and they just kept buying properties.
That's
for that whole
awesome.
entire year. It was nice.
Yeah, I had a guy. It was funny. I met a guy the other day at one of our. He showed up to the Real Cafe event that we have, and he's like, "Hey, I've been working with Sum and Kim. I wanted to work with you. In fact, I reached out, but you told me you didn't want to work with me. I bought 4 or 5 properties, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing, awesome. I wish I would have referred you to Suman." And he was just like, kind of like, almost like, I bought all these properties because you didn't want to work with me. I'm like, bro, trust me, I didn't need to work with you. I was
You're
so
right.
busy. Like, I was like, man, I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. Like, if there's any other things I can help you, like if you're looking down south, maybe Dripping Springs, I'd love to help you. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. So I'll just reach out to you for all my South Austin stuff then. Cause all the stuff he
Mhm.
was looking at was like Gerald. And I'm like, thank God I didn't work with you because I didn't want to
Right.
drive an hour and a half to Gerald.
Well,
So
that was one of those things too. Like I always tell them, look, if you're wanting me to show you houses in New Orleans, I would be doing you a huge disservice. It's a
yeah,
completely different real estate beast down there. I don't know the agents. I don't know the areas. I couldn't tell you about the schools. I don't know about the traffic. I don't know anything other than it's New Orleans and you're picking out a house and I'm opening the door for you. And I don't
yeah,
want to do that level of service. So I much rather refer it out.
yeah.
Everybody should be doing that. You shouldn't be that hungry that you have to like do something like that and give them low quality service.
Well, I mean, it's good being, I agree. It's good being hungry, but the good thing is when you can leverage with YouTube or leverage with
Well,
with
yeah.
a piece of marketing that gets you enough business, then you can be a little more picky with who you take on, right?
Can
And
I,
that's the whole thing about taking on, creating a lead funnel like YouTube or something else is like you can start to be a little more picky.
I want to say one more thing too.
Sure, go for
So
it.
YouTube is one of those things that, like I always say, YouTube is your tool for your lead funnel, but there's other ways you can have more streams of income because of YouTube. And I'm not talking about AdSense. So you can have little affiliate links in your YouTube channel that will bring you money. I joke, and this is no joke, actually it's true. I wore some overalls in a land video and all the men hated these overalls. They're like, you look like a clown, but all the women loved them. And they said, where did you get them from? I said, Amazon. And I had an Amazon affiliate link. Now I have sold because of those stupid overalls over $10,000 in overalls, over $10,000 in commission. That was mailbox money to me because I wore overalls. You can ask vendors, any kind of brands in your videos when you talk about like foreclosure.com. You can just say, oh, you're having a video about foreclosures. Look, I have a discount code for foreclosures.com. They have the most secret foreclosures that you'll never see on Zillow or Redfin. Just go ahead and click my affiliate link below. Those are simple things. You're already making the video anyways. You were already talking about foreclosure.com anyways. Why not get paid for it?
Yeah.
Security systems, floodlights, jacuzzis, hurricane shutters, all of those things that you talk about, there's a company that will pay you to talk about their company to mention them. Make the money.